Okay, so we've got homework 3, question 3. Now, this one looks a little intimidating. You have a whole bunch of data about people buying makeup, and some of these are returns. You can see here they're negative. And we want to make a little chart here that shows the average sales of makeup products, excluding returns, by weekday. Now, when you see this, if you see this on the second midterm, it'll be very similar, but it more than likely won't say, for example, excluding returns. Maybe you want to include returns, who knows? This is very, very similar to what you did with the airplane tickets. But we're gonna take the ifs function, the IFS function that we just did in question 2. We were using count if. Now we're going to use average if. So you're basically telling it to look at a table and find the average of a given set of parameters. Okay. So what we're going to do is the very, very first thing you need to do is make sure that you have things named, because having things named is going to make your life so much easier. So we're going to check the name manager here to see how this one is named. Okay, so this one doesn't have any names. These are all from the previous sheet. You can see where they're all P2. So there are no names currently on this particular sheet. Okay, so we are going to want to build a model that gives us the average of all of these. So what are some things we're going to want? You know, is it asking for names? It's not really asking for names. Now, on the final or the midterm, it might ask for names. You know, it might ask for it to return, you know, the average sales of makeup products by who sold them as opposed to by what product. So in that case, you would want to name your name column. So we're just going to name each one of these columns so that we have them and we can refer to them. And we're just going to give them the same name as their title here. Okay. Remember, do not include labels. So I'm going to start here with Betsy. I'm going to Control Shift down. That's going to control all of Betsy. And this is going to be names. And I'm going to, okay. And then here, we're going to Control Shift down, and that's going to be dates. Now I'm pluralizing it, obviously, it's not, oops. Oh, but see, this one's already dates, so I can't make 2 that are dates. So this one I'll have to make not plural. So I'll have to just make this one date singular. Okay, so now this one is date singular. This one is going to be product. We can just do product singular. It's up to you, you know, whatever will make it easier for you. We don't really need units, but we're going to name units anyway, because you never know, you might need it. So we'll just name units. And then we're going to name dollars. Okay. Okay. Now, gives you a hint. Adding a calculated column with weekdays can help. Okay. Also up here, returns can be identified as rows with negative units. So that means that when we're doing this and we're doing our if, we want to make sure to have one of our parameters be dollars here greater than 0. You don't have to do greater than or equal to 0, because if it's 0, there's no sale. Like, it has to be either above or below 0. It is impossible for something to be listed on here for a product if it was 0. So you don't have to include greater than or equal to 0. However, if you do choose to do greater than or equal to 0, it's not going to materially change the outcome. So that's okay. You can do that if you want to. But let's do our calculated column of weekdays. We're going to do it exactly the same way that we just did here in P2. It's going to be exactly the same as this. Okay. So we're going to close that. We're going to go back to P3. We're going to put our weekdays. And we're going to do our equals weekday. And it's going to be looking at this day right here is what I wanted to look at. And I want it to, here, they've informed us that Monday is number 1, Tuesday is number 2, etc., etc. So that means that I want to use 2 again, so that the numbers correspond with what they've already given me. Okay, pay attention to this. and double check it if you get this on a test to make sure that this is the way that the numbers have done and that they haven't moved things around. So just make sure your weekday matches what it's told you the weekdays are. Okay. That is not what I wanted. Oh, this is formatted funny. That's the problem. This is now, if I look, see, hold on. It's date formatted. I don't want date formatted. I want general formatted. There we go. That's what I want. Okay. And then when I copy this down, if I just double click, it'll be in the correct format because I correctly formatted the first one. So for some reason, this was just, and just double check that. If you get something that you don't expect, just check what it's formatted as. Okay. Okay, so now we want to name this because we're going to need to use it because we need to know the make average sales by weekday. So we're definitely going to be using this column. So let's Control Shift down. And we will name this one weekday. No, did we name the other one weekday or weekdays? Okay, so we can do that because we must have named this one weekdays. Did we even name this? Yeah, see, we named this one weekdays plural. So then this one is weekday singular. And we'll just keep that in mind because they both exist. Now, this is one where you probably could, if you wanted to, make it in the name manager. And then when you created it, you could have it be just for the one spreadsheet and not workbook wide. That's certainly something that you could do. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now we've got all the data we're going to work with. Let's work on our formulas. And I will tell you that this is, if you do it right, you only have to build one formula. Okay. Like literally, you're only going to need one formula and then you just drag it and it'll populate. Let me show you how to do that. Okay. You literally only have to do this once. So we're going to equal, and we want the average ifs plural because we're going to have more than one thing. Okay. So the average ifs, and our first criteria is we want eyeliner. So this is going to be our average ifs. Hold on. I'm just making sure this is coming up correctly. Average ifs, average range. So our average, oh, okay, so we have to do the range. So our average range is we want the average sales. So that's going to be the average dollars. So we want dollars down here because that's the range we want. So that's the number that it's going to average. So that one has to come first. Then you have to tell it the criteria range. So what criteria are we checking against dollars? And the first thing we want to check against dollars is what product, okay? Because we're going to check against product, and then we're going to check against what day, and then we're going to check and make sure that it's greater than 0. So that's how we're building this out. So we're going to average dollars based on a set of criteria. So dollars is always going to be first because that's what they're asking for, okay? So our first criteria is we're going to check product, and we're going to check if the criteria for product is going to be this column here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this, I want this, the E cell to stay the same, because I'm going to drag it across and I don't want it moving into F, G, H, I, J, K. When I drag it, I want it to stay in the E column. But when I drag it down, I want it to be able to go 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So by putting a dollar sign only in front of the E will always stay the same, but the number can change. So that's what's going to allow me to drag it and copy it over. We're going to do the exact opposite thing here in a moment. Okay. All right. Oops. So now my second criteria range, now that I've determined what product I want, now I only want the products that are on Mondays. So I want weekdays, plural. Remember, we had weekdays. Now you can name it something else. You could have just named it days. You could have named it makeup day. Whatever it is that'll help you differentiate between which one's on this sheet and which one's on the previous sheet. Okay, but just make sure you keep those straight, especially on a test. So we've got our weekdays here. Okay, and I'm gonna hit comma. Okay, notice how it didn't fill in with a color and it didn't highlight this column. That means I got it backwards. Let's go back. I want weekday. There we go. Now it's green. That's the right one. Okay. So make sure it highlights so that you got the right one. Okay. And I want it to be weekday. I want it to be this day. That's the one I want. However, again, I want to be able to drag this across. So I want it to be able to go GHIJKL, but I want it to stay in row 9. So this time I'm going to put my $sign there so that when I drag this across and I drag it down, when I drag it down, all of these will be F9 because it can't move. But when I drag it across, it'll be G9, H9, JKL9. Okay, that's how you do it so that you only have to do this formula once. Okay, do this on the test, save you a ton of time so you can spend all your time putting that together. You can drag it out, check that it's correct, and then move on. Okay, this is how you save time on the test. I'm telling you, please practice this and be aware of which way you want your variable to move. So E, we wanted this to stay on this line. So we fixed the column and allowed the line to move. This one, we want to stay in this column. So we allow the row to move, but not the column. Okay. Okay, so now we've got I want the average of dollars. If the product matches what's in this column, and if the weekday matches what's in this column. The last criteria I need to add is to exclude the returns. So that means my final criteria is going to be dollars, and dollars needs to be greater than 0. And that's it. That's just dollars greater than 0. You're already doing ifs, so you're already adding if statements, so you don't have to do like we did at the very, very beginning where it was like, if this, then 0, otherwise do my, long string, because we're already doing ifs. So we can just build dollars greater than 0 right into the string. Okay. And then we're going to close it. And that's it. And obviously you can sit here and you can make these all dollars if you want to. And then watch, I can just pull this there, and then I can pull it down, and it's filled in. Okay, so on Monday, the average amount of the eyeliners sold is $138.37 worth of eyeliner. And on Sunday, the average amount of mascaras sold is $153.74 worth of mascara. Okay, and then you can see here, you can see where this one down here, we're in L15, but my formula is still in E15 and my L is still in row 9. Okay, and so you can see how it's kept it in those rows because that's the row that I wanted. And that's it. We did one formula. Well, we did 2 formulas. We did one formula here and one formula here. This whole sheet was just 2 formulas. The rest of it was just labeling things and understanding how these absolute and the absolute references work in your favor. Okay, that's it. That's number 3. We're all done. All right, I hope this helps.